China is promising candid discussions with the U.S. in upcoming talks in Washington. Leaders from the two countries are meeting over the next 3 days for the 7th Strategic and Economic Dialogue. China now has two vice premiers visiting U.S. One of them, Liu Yangdong, published an article on the USA Today, an American newspaper, promoting people-to-people exchanges between the two countries. Liu said she sincerely hopes that with meticulous care from the two sides, the tree of people-to-people exchanges between our two countries will grow bigger and bear even larger fruits. CCTV's Nathan King joins me now for more on this gathering. Nathan.
As you said, Asia, this is the highest level dialogue between two nations. Also, Vice Premier Wang Yang, by the way, wrote an editorial in the Wall Street Journal. He's co-chairing the events, and also will be China's State Councillor and former Foreign Minister Yang Jiechi. It's also the broadest set of meetings between China and the US. Around 400 Chinese officials will actually be here in all, which is just as well as the relationship is vital, but the rhetoric has been very strained lately. President Xi and Obama have made much progress since the last strategic and economic dialogue. They surprised the world in Beijing last November, announcing a deal on climate change that could set the stage for a global deal at the end of 2015. Greater economic cooperation too, China reforming economically and both nations heading towards a much-anticipated investment treaty. But this year, there have also been growing tensions which threaten to overshadow the interdependence of the two biggest global economies. The United States in recent months has criticised China directly over its land reclamation projects in the Nansha Island chain in the South China Sea. Washington has conducted overflights of territory claimed by China, even taking along television cameras. China insists the US is not party to these disputes, and the rhetoric has gotten heated.
The Chinese, for their part, see themselves as making defensive positions in the South China Sea. The United States government at the State Department level certainly understands that, but there are a number of people in the United States government who are really playing up the friction in the South China Sea and trying to paint China as the arch-villain.
The US has let it be known that it may start patrolling China's artificial islands inside 22.2 kilometres. That's a maritime boundary recognised the world over as a nation's territorial waters. The South China Sea issue will be addressed this week here in Washington. The other major sticking point is cybersecurity. After last year's very public US indictment of 5 members of China's People's Liberation Army by the FBI, Washington in the past month said unidentified Chinese hackers stole the personal data of 14 million current and former US government employees. Beijing said the US is rushing to conclusions and that it too is the victim of hacking on a massive scale. Renewed cooperation on cybersecurity would be a big step forward. And there is hope that this dialogue will serve as others have in the past and highlight the larger issues that unite China and the US rather than the smaller issues that divide them.
And when one looks at the deep economic integration between China and the United States and sees their common interest in big global problems ranging from defeating Islamic State, dealing with Russia and dealing with climate change, then these island disputes in the South China Sea do return to their reasonable position of being small in scale and local in nature.
There are, of course, many areas of cooperation, from non-proliferation, tackling piracy, freedom of the seas, tackling infectious diseases like Ebola. When China and the US act together, the world does notice, but there will also be a focus on these people-to-people exchanges between the US and China, which is seeing tens of thousands of each other's citizens crossing the Pacific in both directions for exchanges ranging from arts to sciences. And of course, actually, then there will be the final preparations for Chinese President Xi Jinping's state visit here in September as well. So a lot on the agenda.
So, Nathan, this, of course, gives opportunity for the Chinese to clarify some of their positions, but also a chance for Chinese officials to tackle many issues that they see as myths here.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, Vice Premier Wang Yang wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal opinion piece, and he basically says this is an opportunity for the Chinese officials to come here and talk to Americans about their misconceptions of China. For example, he said, look, 95% of businesses in China are actually privately owned. The state-run companies, the 5%, run their own affairs. They're not diktats of the state. These are sort of things that Chinese officials can get across during their meetings with not just US officials, but the US US public at large. So the spotlight on a very important but difficult relationship going forward. But there's going to be lots more areas of cooperation being announced, smaller ones, protecting international oceans, for example, cooperating when it comes to endangered species. All these things, of course, do matter when China and the US get together because they can really make a difference.
They sure can. All right, CCTV's Nathan King, thank you very much.